Good evening and welcome back to Mindful Model Maker. Now, as I discussed in the last one, we're going to build 4 cheap wagons. Now, what I'm doing, I'm going to do 3 bases tonight, and then I'll do the other one separate because the brake van has got a slightly different base to it. Whereas the other, you've got the 2 different meat vans, the depot and the original Airfix, and you've also got a mineral wagon, an Airfix mineral wagon. So they're what I'm going to just do the bases of tonight. So what I always do, I'm going to use probably the depot instructions because they are the clearest. Actually, they're even clearer than the early Airfix. They've all got very similar bases. Obviously, the Airfix and the depot are identical virtually because obviously they were originally moulded at the same kind of place. Obviously, depot took over the original Airfix kits and now make their own, so they are exact replicas of the Airfix. So what I'm going to do, I've cut off from the sprues the parts that I require. I always then run a file round, so I look for any raised up bits, and I have these files which have like a diamond bit on because I find that they actually cut through a lot quicker and they just take it straight off. Not so much messing around. I think they're cleaner to use, so that's one bit done on there. I'm only just going around cleaning them up because obviously if you clean them up they will glue together much easier. So I find it's worth taking 10 minutes, whatever, to just go round, and any little bits that are going to stick and get in the way of anything, you will remove them. So things will fit flat and flush together, because obviously these are kind of rectangular boxes that we're building, so we don't want any bits sticking out anywhere that's going to stop it from gluing together. So I usually just have a look round as I'm doing it, just to feel, see bits and pieces like this little bit there sticking up, so I'll just run the file through there. A lot of this obviously is on the underside, so you're not going to see it, but that doesn't matter because I think if you're a modeler, you want whatever you do to look the best that you can make it. That's what I always try and aim to do, and not everything I make is perfect, but the idea is to do your best. When I first think of what some of my early models were like, perhaps some people think my models are like that now, I don't know, but I certainly get a bit of satisfaction out of the fact that I've taken off some rough edges and made it look as good as. And obviously it gives you the best chance of fitting it together as well, because if there's a bit sticking out where it shouldn't and you're trying to push it in and you think, well, that don't fit, once you've got the glue on it, you haven't tried it beforehand. So all little bits, I'm just cleaning them up, that's it. So this is the vacuum for the vacuum brakes. This is a kind of like a cylinder type thing that fits underneath. The mineral wagon hasn't got that because it's what you would call an unfitted wagon. It has brake shoes or brake blocks, whatever you want to call them. And for those that are not too familiar with how that works, they have a handle. All wagons have a handle so you can pin the wagons down. So if they were in a yard or somewhere where you wanted to keep them, once all the brakes have leaked off and all the rest, there's nothing to stop them running away. So what you do is you have a handle where you can mechanically pull that down, push a pin in, and that will hold the brakes on the wagon. And of course all you've got to remember is when you do want to move the train that you unpin all these, because otherwise you'll be dragging them along and you'll end up with flats on the wheels. So but a lot of that was down obviously to the guard to check those things, because the guard is in charge of the train and the driver is in charge of the locomotive. So it was the guard that worked out all the brake forces of your train. That is obviously the actual weight and the amount of available brake that you kind of had in brake force to stop the train, because obviously I was on the railway in the days when we had loose fitted or part fitted trains, which means that there are wagons on there that have got brake blocks but they're not applied while they're going along. So in other words, when you put the brake on the loco, they don't put the brake on the wagon, so you have to do that bit, or you have to take that into account. And of course those wagons will go backwards and just kind of slide backwards and forwards. So if you suddenly open the regulator, they'll just kind of snatch the wagon. So if you have a loose fitted train or part fitted train, you have to drive it according to the wagons that you have on. Otherwise you can break the couplings and then you'll have a breakaway, because obviously those wagons haven't got operating brakes. So if it breaks away, the brakes don't automatically apply, they just keep rolling away. So, and that's why on any of those you would always have a brake van fitted on the back, because the brake van has a brake that can be wound on by the guard. So you will wind a handle down which puts the brakes on, and obviously that will then help to slow the train down and hopefully bring it to a halt before it does any damage. That's the theory. Right, this one looks quite clean actually. So this old Airfix one is quite nice. It's exactly the same as the Dapol, just one's in red and one's in grey. But yeah, it's really good. I think they're good quality models myself, and I love making them. I've made quite a few over the years. I just fancied having another go, and just to show you that you can get really nice wagons at a cheap price and have the fun of making it as well. And some of the wagons, obviously, you can paint the colour that you want them, because obviously now things are a little bit different, or if it's a particular region, may have a slightly different colour than another region, so it does enable you to do that. Whereas some of the commercially made stuff, you can't always find the colour of wagons that you want, perhaps especially if you're buying second hand, unless you're buying from perhaps somebody who's changing the theme or whatever, then that's it. Right, so all those parts are now cleaned up. What I'm using tonight as an adhesive is a Humbrol liquid poly, which comes with one of the childproof lids, and inside a little brush. Okay, there's lots of glues on the market. If you're quite new to it, something like that is quite nice, because it's got a brush. Don't want to put too much on. Now I'm going to go to the instructions now. I know that's pretty rare for a man to do, but here we go. So it says that we've got to find these slots on the underside of the wagon, and then basically that slips in there and that slips in there. Let's get it up the right way, and then it might do. So it's showing the brakes like that, so that's right. So that goes in there and that goes in there. That's it. So there's just a little lugs on there, you can see they just go in. You can see there's a slot already cut out, and then all you do, the little bits that stick out of the side go into those slots. Okay, so all I'm going to do is get a little bit of liquid poly, just put a little bit on there, a little bit on there, like so, bring it back, slot it on. That's it, and it's as simple as that. Push it down so it's home. That's it. You want the detail sticking on the outside. So if you're looking at just the flat side, there's the flat side, and then this side has got the detail of the brake blocks on, because you want that bit obviously to show on the outside of the wagon. And just get the other half, just a quick dummy run to make sure they slot down in, because there might be something sticking out that you hadn't noticed before that stops it. So that goes in there, that works. Next bit, another bit of poly. I always kind of brush off the excess, because otherwise, one, it might drip over something else, and two, you don't want lots on there, just enough to hold it. This stuff is pretty effective because the poly cement actually melts the plastic. And that's how it works. It melts to stick it. That's it down like so. Right, so now we've got both sets of brake blocks in place. So that's the first one. I'll carry on with the next one, just do exactly the same. And this is how I would do it. So if I was going to build 6 of these, I'd buy 6 wagons, get them all to the same. So you can see there, I need a little bit off of that. I think that's okay. Yes, if you're going to build a few wagons, you get them all and get them to the same standard at the same time. And it's much easier because then you can see the results much quicker than just doing one and then the other one. It gets a little bit laborious, I think, doing it like that. But if you do it like this, I mean, by the end of this video, we will have 3 chassis more or less finished. There's lots of little bits more to go, but not a lot. So, yes, just check that, that's okay. It's just a weeny bit to file off that. See, I'm still looking for bits because I just like the bits to be right. Because I know sometimes if you don't get the bits right now, they come back and haunt you at some other point. Because if you haven't made models much before, I think these are nice easy ones to start with. There's nothing too complicated on these. Right, so now we've got 2 chassis the same, okay? Now we're going on to this one, which is the mineral wagon. And on the mineral wagon, we have this exactly the same kind of rigging that goes in there for the brake blocks, but obviously these brakes will only be mechanically operated by a lever which the shunter or the guard will operate, because obviously if you're in a shunting yard you have a shunter that does all that work. So I'll just put that on there, put that on there. That's it. If you think I'm talking to myself, you're right, because I do that all the time. There's only one thing worse than that, and that's arguing with yourself and losing. But anyway, there we are. So that's that on there like that. Now I believe these go there and touch that bit there like so. That's it. It fits lovely on there like that with the axle boxes on. Good. Right, so we might as well do this one first. It's nice and flat along the top. So what I'm going to do now is just run a gentle bit of poly along the top there like so, and then the little bits where it's got to fix against, I'll just put a little bit on them because that will hold it square to the actual frame, which is what you want. You want everything square on a wagon. So you just bring that in line like so, make sure that it doesn't overlap the end, and put that on. And then don't be frightened to pick it up and have a look around to make sure. And if you don't think it's right, pull it off. Don't leave it on there and then think, oh, those things don't right themselves by themselves. You've got to do it. So, and then I just look at it end on to get that upright. So it's got to be pushed in hard on there, like so. And does that look like that? It does to me. So that's that side of the mineral wagon done. These are the axle boxes, by the way. So this one here, just a little dry run to make sure that's going to fit against that. All right, it looks good to me. Just double check there's nothing sticking up anywhere. No. Right, again, get the poly brush, knock off some of the excess and slide that along like that. Then a little bit more, just for these 4 little bits that it fixes against. Let's just say it just holds it in position and holds it quite square as well. So set that on like so. That's it. Just make sure it's level with where it's got to go. That's it there, like so. sure that's right there. That's right. That's it. Okay. So we've completed the basic bit of the chassis on that first one. Okay. Then we go back to one of the ventilated meat vans, which is what these other two are, and we've got to fit this on the side. So I think what happens there, they have little lugs, they don't go over the top, so we've got that bit there like so. So again, you've got to line it up by eye, and there's two bits here, if you can see, one there and one there, which is what it will butt up against. So here we go. Let's get a bit of glue on. So we'll run the glue along this bit here, like so. Then a little bit more just on these bits here, like so. That's it. Put that there. Bring that back quick. Get that on. And then get it levelled up. That's it. Make sure it's pushed in tight onto there. That looks lovely and upright to me. That's it. Obviously, when we put the wheels on, it allows you a little bit of movement from side to side, because obviously you have to kind of pull the chassis apart a little bit to put the wheels. Now, I will order some metal wheels. I did have some somewhere and I seriously can't find them. So for the moment, I will probably, when we come to putting wheels on, I'll just use the ones that come with the kit. But I would strongly advise, if you're going to use these seriously on your railway, I would buy proper metal wheels. You can get them if they're freehole or spoked. You can get whichever type, because obviously different regions had different ones. Now the only difference now is you've got the little vacuum tank that goes on, and you'll find a little slot just there, a little bit there, that goes in. There's the tank itself, and there's a little tiny cut on it, and it goes to us upside down onto that. There is a little nib on the back of that, which I want to get rid of. Don't want no little nibs at all, do we, really? That's it. Put that like that. And you can see, it's, yeah, to me it's quite fun. It's just relaxing. It's probably the most relaxing thing I've done all day today. I've been at work, but I come home, I have my dinner, and then I find that just to do this for an hour or so is just another way of unwinding. That's it. That goes on there like so. Right, so now the vacuum tank is fitted. So when you look at it from that way, you can see it, and that's it underneath there, the actual vacuum tank. I hope you can see that quite clearly. So that's that one done for tonight. Then we do the same old thing again on this one. I think what we might do, which is something, I might put the vacuum tank on first, because you could just get in there a bit easier. So there we are, because I haven't read the actual numbers, but I've been making models. But if you need to religiously look at the instructions and do it, because it's better to get it right first time. There we are. So that vacuum tank is in there now, fitted. And then all I've got to do, make sure these are clean on top, which it's just a little bit sticking up there. I don't like that. I like the wagons to look quite square, and when you paint them and that, they can come up beautiful. You know, they look like very expensive wagons, and they're not, but all of the moulding is good, I think. Yeah, I mean, they're old, but they still do the jobs. So just don't forget, you're modelling old wagons anyway. You know, the look of modern wagons are not like this anymore. So what you're actually doing is modelling an old wagon, because most of us do things on the railway that a lot of time is maybe even before our own time. So yeah, so we're modelling periods that were before we were born. So a lot of times we either go out to look at stuff, or we get books, pictures out of magazines, whatever, to find out what these things really look like, and then model them, like buildings and that. You know, I go to a lot of steam things, and yeah, people say, "Oh, you put that on your modelling channel," but it's not just that. I think if you model, a lot of people model railways. I mean, not everybody. I mean, there's all sorts, but modelling is modelling. But whatever you're doing, even if you fly aircraft, boats, or whatever, you 9 times out of 10 will want to go and see the real thing that you're modelling, and do it in the same colours, whatever, because there's a lot of things. I mean, I'm building a Gauge 1 Class 33. Now, I used to drive 33s, but the only thing is, you can't remember everything. So I've got books, photos, everything that I can get hold of with 33s in, because if I want to look at something from a certain angle and think, does that look right? Does that look right? Whatever. Right, now, what have we got? 3 basic chassis. There we are. That's it. 2 that are vacuum braked, and 1 which is unbraked. It has brake blocks, but they were only put on manually by the guard or the shunter. So there we are. That's 3 chassis of our train. Like I say, I'm going to do the breakdown separate because it's a slightly different build. So there we are. So that's how long it's taken to just bring them bits to life. Okay, and some people might want to paint them bits now and do it before they get the top on. So we'll discuss that in the next video. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you want to like, then just give me a like. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye now.